Section 6.0, Root Suffixes and Their Importance. Root suffixes attach between the root and the tense suffix. Keep in mind a great many verbs have a conditional suffix which further modifies the meaning. Conditional suffixes are used to say the action of a verb is being repeated, being performed accidentally, being performed from place to place, etc. It may serve you better to think of conditional suffixes as adverbial suffixes, because in most cases they do serve as adverbs. We will discuss the conditional suffixes and their forms in the next section, but for now it is only necessary to know that they exist. Not all verbs have conditional suffixes. Below is a table illustrating what word parts make up those verbs that do not have conditional suffixes. This will help you to see where the root suffix is located. So in the table below, word parts of a verb containing no conditional suffix. Here you could have, in the example word, a pronoun prefix, which there is not one. Pronoun a, he, she, set a. Reflexive, a, da. That's the outsourced reflexive. The root, wo, submerged. And then here in the gray area is your root suffix, which means the glottal, which means stationary focus, and tense suffix a, which means present tense. In the table above, the example verb adawo, swimming or bathing, was given. The highlighted column illustrates where the root suffix is located and that the root suffix for this term is the glottal stop. In this particular term, the glottal stop is used to indicate that the action is taking place in one area and without moving to other places. This glottal stop indicates that the root has a stationary focus characterization. Root suffixes are used to characterize the action or state of being that the root depicts. I am known for saying that it is extremely important to learn how to traditionally classify shared experience and personal experience pronouns. I say this because it is a key component to understanding the traditional Katua worldview. It is also equally important to understand how root suffixes characterize word roots. Knowing how to characterize actions and states of being means that you know how to characterize them by Katua thought as well. Essentially, it can be said that by learning these two systems, you are simultaneously learning to understand Katua thought as well as the language. What do I mean by Katua thought? Katua thought is how we see the world, and it is this same way of thinking that shapes how we connect with and coexist with that same world. Giving students a list of words and telling them to memorize them will never give them the ability to see through the eyes of their traditional ancestors. Only by teaching them why we say what we say and what we are literally saying will they ever grasp what it means to truly think the Katua way. Given that our cultural and spiritual beliefs and our language are interwoven, so much can be understood about who we, the Katua people, are by empowering students with the knowledge of how to articulate these two systems. The patterns of the root suffixes and how they move throughout the stem forms are predictable. Aside from their predictability, there are other important characteristics that they possess. Firstly, they are all consonants. This means that they do not express tone. In our language, only vowels have tone. Secondly, each of the root suffixes have a meaning that can be expressed in English or with an English translation. With enough practice, you will begin to see how and why specific patterns form throughout the stem forms of a verb root. Simply by asking yourself, why does it use this root suffix with this pronoun, this root's meaning, and this tense suffix? As you begin to answer each of these questions, for yourself, you will begin to see how we conceptualize these actions or states of being. You will find that we see certain aspects of actions and states of being as necessary focal points, where these aspects do not seem to be deemed important in the English language. Here is a list of the root suffixes and what they mean. On the incompletive present stem, you'll find H, glottal, SG, and G. H means motion focus, glottal is stationary focus, SG is subject-object focus, and G is object focus. On the incompletive stem, you'll find H, G, S, SG. H is motion focus, G is object focus, S is subject focus, and the combination SG is subject-object focus. On the completive stem, you will find H, glottal, S, and TS. H again is motion focus, glottal is stationary focus, S is subject focus, and the TS is a past event focus. On the immediate stem, you'll find G, H, or nothing at all. G, again, is object focus. H is state of being focus with an HI ending. And nothing at all means that this verb doesn't have a root suffix. The reason for that is because in the command form, a root suffix which characterizes the root isn't possible on a command because you can't characterize something that isn't truly happening. And then in the infinitive, you will find H, S, or nothing. H is motion focus and S is subject focus. And again, if there is no root suffix, this is due to the tone sequence of the transformative conditional suffix. So for example, uwohueloti, for it to become written. Root suffix patterns and verbs. In this section, we will look at some common verbs conjugated in various stem forms. We will look at the root suffix of each word to get a better idea of how the root suffix affects the meaning of the root. So our first stem form is the incompletive present, gu'ilo'a. Here, I'm washing it. Incompletive, gu'ilosko'i. I wash it. Completive, aguhilo'ai. I washed it. Immediate, wiguhiloja. I must wash it, or let me wash it. Infinitive, aguhilosti. For me to wash it. Number 1, glottal. The glottal is being used to characterize the verb by saying the action is happening in one spot without moving about. Right now, I am washing it in one place, like in a washing machine or historically in a wash tub. SG. The SG is being used to characterize the verb by saying I, the subject, have and will likely continue on washing it, it being the object of the sentence. Glottal. The glottal is being used to characterize the verb by saying the action happened in one spot without moving about. For example, I washed it in one place, like in a washing machine or wash tub. TS. The TS is being used to characterize the verb by saying in the immediate stem, this root suffix represents past event focus. For example, I must wash it until it is fully clean. Also, this is the root suffix that is found on the conditional suffix that means the action is being done repeatedly. S, the S is being used to characterize the verb by saying in the infinitive stem, this root suffix represents subject focus. So for example, for me, the subject, to wash it. As you can see from the examples above, root suffixes characterize the action of the root. Let's take another look at what the root suffix is doing to the conjugation and how we can think about why it is used. Let's take the verb adesqua'an. He or she is learning. For example, the act of learning takes place in the mind. Certainly, we can go to schools and see students participating in the class projects, assignments, etc., but we still cannot verify whether or not anyone is actually learning. It is assumed that they are learning because it is human nature to learn. Essentially, because learning is an action that does not require movement, this present tense verb uses a glottal stop as its root suffix. This root suffix is saying the action is happening in a stationary way, or in a way that you cannot see any movement happening.